interviewing Mr.
Whayland Greene.
And Mr. Greene, where did you, what years did you serve in the military?
From 1943 to 1946, early part of 1946.
And where did you serve? And
I trained at Camp Fannin in Tyler, Texas. When I shipped overseas, we shipped to an little island called Goodenough Island, which was right off the tip of New Guinea. And then from the Goodenough, we went to New Guinea. They'd been fighting the Japanese about a year and a half there. When we got over there, we went over as replacements for fellows that had been killed or too bad and wounded to go back to combat. And from there, we made a little beach landing on Marta Island. And from there, we went to Leyte Island in the Philippines. And from there, we went to Luzon Island in the Philippines. And we were on Luzon Island when it dropped the atomic bomb. And after the Japanese surrendered, they sent us on over to occupational forces to Japan, Kyushu, Japan. And we served there until we got enough points to come home. We were young at the time, and we wasn't married and didn't have any children, and all of that counted as points. And the fellas that had about a little over 100 points started going home pretty quick as soon as the war was over.
So give our viewers an idea of how old you were. How old were you when you first went into the military?
I was 18 years old.
18. And what branch did you serve in?
What branch?
Mm-hmm. What branch of the military?
The Army.
The Army. Okay.
Army infantry. We were trained to replace troops that had been killed and wounded in other divisions, and they shipped us all over the world when we got through training. And when we left Tyler, Texas, they told us, the colonel was talking to us and said, within 60 to 90 days, you will have killed or will have been killed, one or the other. And he was correct.
Wow.
Needing squad leaders so bad that in my company, that they were making squad leaders out of PFCs. We made two of us squad leaders when we was a PFC and 20 years old, and you're supposed to be a staff sergeant. When, of course, we made sergeant, and then we never was assistant squad leader. They put us I was platoon runner, and he was a rifleman, and they put us in charge of a squad and told us that if we handled the squad all right, we would soon be a staff sergeant. And sure enough, we were, but of course we had to go through sergeant first, and then we made staff sergeant. And then when we got to Japan, they needed platoon sergeants, and they made us both acting platoon sergeants when we got to Japan. And we were still just 20 years old.
Wow.
I was discharged out of the Army before I was 21.
I read somewhere that you have a Purple Heart. Is that correct?
That's right.
And how did you...
I was just slightly wounded about 3 different times, but nothing serious.
Okay.
I thought it was serious, but nobody else thought it was serious. We called them Band-Aid wounds.
Band-Aid wounds.
But I was knocked unconscious one time by a shell that killed this man, this officer. We were trying to take a heel from the Japanese, and we'd already had one platoon leader killed on Leyte, and they assigned me to him as a platoon runner for this lieutenant. The other one was a second lieutenant. This was a first lieutenant. He was 25 years old, and they assigned me to him as platoon runner to deliver messages to the different squads and things. And I was a PFC, 19 years old at the time, and we were trying to take a hit from the Japanese, and I was carrying a little walkie-talkie radio for him, and he said, "Greene, get the company commander on the line. I need to talk to him." So I got the company commander on. We had a code number as Charlie 1. We were C Company in 1st Platoon. And our company commander was named Bell, Captain Bell. He said, "I need to talk to Captain Bell." Said, "We're having a pretty rough time." And he said, I got Captain Bell on the radio and handed it to him, and he said something to Captain Bell, and about that time a shell hit and killed him, tore him up pretty bad. And I was close as I am to you right now, and it knocked me unconscious, but I didn't know when I came to. I wasn't out but just a few seconds, I don't guess, because I didn't know where I was, how I got there, or why I was there. but he died. He was torn up. 2002, I believe, and we've got 200 and some odd 63 people in Belcher, and we have over 1,500 brick in the memorial. And so they're not all from Belcher.
Okay. Now the bricks, tell us a little bit about that as we're going.
We have engraved brick in here for veterans, but also we have some, our high school is right where the fire station is over there, and we have some high school names. One row was for high school, the ones that went to high school here, and we reserved 3 rows for veterans.
I'm going to walk up here and show a little video of it.
All right, and right here we have a plaque that we put in for General Stroud, and he graduated here. Our school was right where the fire station is, and I've got a picture of it in the house there. And he went to school here and finished school here. And I have a newsletter in my house somewhere where he was a private and I was a sergeant. But he stayed with it, and he got to be a 2-star general. And I used to work with him down at his dad's store in Dixie, about 4.5 miles down there. And this is the 7 people we know of that went to high school here and was killed during World War II. We put a plaque in here for them. Right here we have the 5 Sullivan brothers that were all killed the same day. And he was 20 years old, 23 years old, 24 years old, 26 years old, and 27 years old.
Wow. Now, was that a time before they would send all the brothers to
They
war?
all joined the Navy together, and they were sort of against the rules back then for them to serve on the same ship.
Oh, wow.
But they had 2 more guys who was going to volunteer with them, and they said if they'd let us stay together, all 7 of them would join. So they broke the rules, and then it happened, and then they tightened up on the rules.
I bet. Wow. So what made you decide to build this memorial? Didn't you and your wife, Joanne, is that right, decided to have this memorial built?
I come up here and I'll show you what.
Okay.
One of the main reasons I decided to build it, because tried to help build it. This row of brick right here. Every person in that row was in my unit, and every one of them was killed. And 3 of them was 19-year-old kids. He was 19, he was 19, and he was 19. And I was 19 at the time. This man, I saw him fall. I heard the shot and saw him fall. And this man was shot to the top of the head just less than 10 minutes before this one got killed. This one was shot through the top of the head and paralyzed from his waist down for 6 or 8 weeks.
Wow.
And he is the only man living right now that I know of that I was in combat with. And I talked to him a day or two ago. He lives up in Vernon, Texas now. He did live in Tacoma. But after he got where he could walk again, he came back and fought till the day the war was over.
Well, I believe you told me, Mr. Greene, that you're actually 95 going on 96. Is that correct?
I'll be 96 in February.
All right.
If I make it.
So if this man that you're speaking of, how old is he today?
How old is
The man that you're speaking of there. The one that was...
He's the same age as me. I'm a little, maybe a few months or a month or two older.
Okay.
Let's see, right?
Is it the John?
Dunham.
Oh, Charles Dunham.
He's
Okay.
about the same age. Now I got overseas about a year before he did, but and we got into a good bit of fighting before that time. But he, like I say, he was shot through the top of the head, and this other one was killed less than 10 minutes after he was shot. And I saw this man fall and drug him up the hill.
Oh, wow.
And went to visit his family right after World War II, and his family came back here to visit me.
Monuments that have victory and peace.
We had 3 to begin with, and then this war on terrorism started up, so we had to shift them 3 around and make room for 4. And of course, we haven't finished this one yet.
Okay, so I'm going to walk around. It says victory and peace.
We've got one for...
And this one's actually the one for September 11th attack, December 7th, 1941, and September 11th, 2001.
Yeah, 2 times we were attacked.
Right. We will never forget. And then let's walk around to these.
All right, then we have one for World War One.
On this side, I see.
Here.
Okay. And that gives the statistics, I see.
And the figures are not correct on this one, but that's the only figures we had at the time.
Okay.
But it was actually 400,000 deaths, battle deaths.
Wow, that's a big difference, isn't it?
And I was in World War II. I served from 43 to 46.
Now, did you choose to go into the military?
Beg your pardon?
Did you choose to go into the military, or were you drafted?
I was drafted. Me and 4 more guys, I believe it was, went to Barksdale Field to see if we could volunteer for the Air Corps. At the time, it was the Air Corps and not the Air Force. And they told us to go home and see if we was going to be drafted within 30 days. If we was going to be drafted within 30 days, they couldn't accept us. Came home and got my call card the next day.
Oh, wow.
It was already in the mail, and I didn't know it at the time. But anyway, it turned out good because I survived. I lived through it.
That's awesome. This is really great what you've done here.
Let me tell you about these benches now.
Okay.
See, this is the reason I said we couldn't meet it. Because we got one for the Army and Air Force, Navy and Marines, Coast Guard, and when that's not wet, you can read it. But and Coast Guard and Merchant Marine. And this one we had an extra one, so we Barksdale Field, B-52 was flying over here every day just at that time, and that one was up to honor the Barksdale Field and the B-52.
I'm gonna get a picture of these. Let's see.
Did you get?
Let's get this one right here. I didn't get it. There's the Korean.
War.
Okay, and then I'm gonna walk around and get this one because I didn't get this one, the Vietnam.
And I think these figures are fairly accurate.
And then you have two more over here. We have the Gulf War. A lot of our viewers that would watch this video will remember that, because I remember that myself.
And this roll, we got together, and some of us got together and put a brick in here for all the asphalt.
Is there anything else out here that you'd like to show us, or?
Well, there it is. This right here, we were Berkshire's sponsored about 10 or 12 trips to Washington, D.C. for World War II veterans, and I was fortunate enough to make one of the trips.
Oh, nice.
And it was two ladies that went. My niece went on the trip, and another lady went on the trip, but they had to make their own arrangements. They had to pay their own fare there and back, and it was 11 in wheelchairs, World War II veterans at that time, and they pushed wheelchairs all over Washington, D.C. They did such a good job till when we went to New Orleans, they paid the way for a lady to sort of look after me. They paid her way.
Wow, that's nice.
And my niece, when we got back here, my niece was one of the, right here, she put a brick in here for all 24 of us then.
Okay.
And then also for Berkshire's.
Mr. Greene, if you could give some advice to someone joining the military today, or even being drafted if that were to happen again, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, in my case, I would not go through what I went through for any amount of money. But I would do it in a drop of an eye, just in a second. If somebody was trying to take this country over, I'd go back and fight till I couldn't fight no more.